Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I work with a lot of individuals with attachment wounds. Today, I wanted to go over some characteristics that I notice, particularly avoidants tend to adore and can even obsess over, not in a negative way. I mean, I don't know if obsess is the right word. It's like a deep admiration, like a very deep and continuous admiration for these particular types of people. Now, a lot of these characteristics, some of them are pretty simple, but what you will find, and if you are an avoidant individual or you're with one, you may understand that a lot of avoidant individuals actually don't feel like they're ever going to get any of these things. So it's something they deeply desire. And that's why I kind of use the word obsession or deep admiration, because they really genuinely don't feel like they will ever get this or deserve this or that people will come like this. But I feel like that's why it's really important. And part of the reason why I wanted to make this video is partly because I want to update y'all about information that I learn, when I'm practicing, but also because I had a patient recently, I think it was a couple weeks ago, where he's an avoidant. He listed a lot of these out, which, he's in his healing journey, but he kind of listed directly why he decided to go ahead and, propose to his fiance after years and years and years of, being with her and being single. And this happens a lot. So it's not just him, any patient. I'm not giving his information. I'm just saying this is so common with so many of my patients. After years and years and years of not, labeling or not talking about marriage, suddenly you kind of just decided that this person is the one for you and you really are positive about it. And, going over these things in session with any of my patients and them kind of telling me some of these things, you recognize that avoidant individuals perceive romance through a checklist, right? And some of them even mention, I've had avoidant individuals, when they first go on their first date, they're X, Y, and Z. This is the things that I need to make sure is there. Otherwise, this is not going to go forward. This is something on my checklist. They say, it's on my list. And they say they even tell their partner this, which, it is what it is. But that's why I'm making this video, because I got, a little bit more clarity and information about certain things. And I can understand as well someone who kind of leans that way, particularly on my end. I also can understand that. But that's why I wanted to make this video today. So the very first one is probably one of the most important ones. And I think it's hard to describe it, but I'll try my best. It's if the partner, so the non-avoidant, has awareness of their partner's triggers without judgment. So I'm not saying that you have to read their mind, but as a relationship progresses, in a long-term relationship, both of y'all are aware of each other's triggers, correct? Typically, yes, right? And so by you being aware of those triggers and understanding that this is just who they are, it may change. It's not that it won't, but understanding who your partner is and their triggers without judgment can also help you to navigate those triggers and also help them to be less triggering about them. So for example, let's say you know that your partner is triggered about talking about labeling a relationship, right? Because a lot of avoidant individuals, labeling can be a bit of a trigger. And I made a video quite recently about labels. So if you want any more details about it, I won't have time to fit it in this video, but that video might help. Basically, avoidant individuals believe that labels can sometimes distract from the actual love. They believe that it shouldn't be a label, it shouldn't be an expectation, it should be love, it should be natural. Whether that's wrong or right is just dependent on the person, but that's a trigger for them. So if you're aware of your partner's triggers, you won't take it personally and you'll be able to navigate around them or reassure it, right? I'm not saying that we're gonna, that we're boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm not saying that, but I am saying I care about you and I just want to make sure you're okay, whatever the conversation is, right? But you're able to navigate those types of aspects. And the second one, which is similar to awareness, is healthy communication around the avoidance triggers. So I already gave that example, but I'll kind of elaborate more. Healthy communication around an avoidance trigger can be as simple as, I know this bothers you, and it's not something that necessarily bothers me, but I want you to know I respect that this bothers you, and I'm trying to be cognizant of that, right? I'm trying to be cognizant of that, and if I ever say anything that bothers you, just tell me, and I'll back up a little bit. You just got to communicate with me, right? So by you communicating as the non-avoidant partner or the avoidance partner, by you communicating in a healthy way, the avoidant individual, their walls are down and they're able to feel like this person is a person that I deeply adore because I can feel safe with this person. If I do commit, I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to get hurt. The likelihood of that is low because they accept me, right? That's how they think. The next one is willingness to change. Now, this is on both parts, but we're kind of just talking about the avoidance partner. They really adore anybody who is willing to change themselves in a way that's productive and it's not malicious and it's not in expectation of the other person, to where it is more so they acknowledge that they're not perfect and that they very well could adjust to make this relationship more smoothly going along, more smoother for the relationship. And also it helps the avoidant individual to navigate their own unwillingness to change, because a lot of avoidance, they don't like to change. And it helps them to be motivated, right? And this is more because they get to see that it helps a person like feel intrinsically motivated, right? So internally, they're seeing their partner be motivated and willing to change in a happy way. They can almost subconsciously and even consciously be motivated of their own intrinsic reasons, right? Oh, this makes this person feel so good. I want to feel good that way too. Change is not a sacrifice. It doesn't mean I have to give myself up. It gives me something, right? And so that's very important as well, why a willingness to change for their partner really helps them. The next one is the partner is able to address issues without jumping to conclusions, right? Let's say a partner, went to a sports bar with their buddies and they haven't been texting or really mentioning much, and they promised that they would. Maybe their partner could say, I'm worried about you. I want to make sure that you're not, drinking too much, whatever, X, Y, and Z. And I just want to make sure you're okay, right? So text me back when you get a chance. Something very simple. As comparison to jumping to conclusions, why are you not texting me? Is there another person with you? What's going on? Are you talking to somebody else? That addresses issues in a different way. That creates a dynamic where the avoidant individual actually feels very cornered, very judged, and unloved. And so it's very hard for them to positively connect and adore when an individual is making them feel very negative. I do want to point something out that I think a lot of people don't understand. Avoidant individuals, especially avoidant male individuals, but female avoidance as well, they tend to connect with a person based on how they feel in the moment around that person. So even if they really do love you, they might not stay because they feel very triggered and anxious and uncomfortable around a person. And so that's why a lot of times avoidant individuals, a lot of people wonder, if an avoidant loves someone, why do they leave? And that's true. It's not an excuse. Avoidant individuals, they do leave when they love you. It's true. And so why does this happen? Because they probably didn't feel comfortable in that situation, whether it was you, whether it was external situations that was, applied to you, whatever it was, but there was triggers that was happening. So by you being able to address issues without jumping to conclusions, not only do you make them trust you, you also make them feel where they would originally probably feel bad about it. You actually made them feel neutral or even good about it because they can see you are addressing something. And that's what a lot of this really is, right? Feeling like you can be open to them and they can be open to you. And that's very important. And the next one is really similar, right? Without jumping to conclusions, are you doing this? Is this happening? Do you not like me anymore? That was the one that we just talked about, the fourth one. The fifth one is communicating feelings of discomfort without accusations. Let's say an avoidant individual is, hanging out with a female friend. And let's say the avoidant individual is male and the partner is also female, right? And this female friend, maybe they were talking, for maybe 2 hours or something, just had lunch together, maybe with other friends as well. But this female friend, they've been friends for a while. And the avoidant partner, the female, let's just say anxious, preoccupied, maybe there's an accusation. Do you like this girl? Why do you always talk to her? What's going on? Instead of saying, I actually feel a little uncomfortable. I'm not saying to not be friends with her, but to me, I feel like maybe she has an interest in you, or I at least want to know how this relationship works this friendship works, because I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, and I've always been a little bit uncomfortable about things like this. So I'm not saying it's you, but I just want a little bit of clarity of what's going on. Is there any way that you could provide that for me? Right? So that's communicating feelings of discomfort. I'm feeling uncomfortable about the situation without an accusation on top of it. Right? So that's something that's very important. Okay. The next one. And I really like this one. And I will be honest, it's not easy even for secure individuals. It takes a lot of work, right? To be honest, that's part of my job. This is what I'm about to say. Even secure individuals, I have couples, in my office that are secure, and they still struggle with this one. But it's very important. And most people like individuals like this. And that is resilience after arguments. But it's not easy, okay? So I don't want you guys to, put yourself down that you can't have all these on this list and that suddenly your avoidant partner doesn't like you. That's not true. This list is for you guys to learn, a foundation of what you can do to help your partner get close to you and connect to you. And your partner will probably and should learn some of these things as well. And resilience after an argument, I think, is across the board. Anybody could learn this, right? And so what does resilience after an argument look like? Like, what does it mean? Typically, it means that after an argument, that you're able to bounce back and realize that your partner is not your enemy, that you're able to move on the next day. Anxious individuals and fearful avoidant actually really struggle with this one. To be honest, avoidant individuals are probably even above secure individuals. Avoidant individuals are the best at this one. After an argument, I think I have some couples where they'll come into my office and they'll be like, let's say it's a female, anxious, preoccupied, dismissive, avoidant male. She'll be like, we had an argument, and he, acts like everything's fine the next day. And he's like, yeah, because everything is fine, right? He's resilient after the argument, but she is not so resilient. She still wants to fix things. She still is feeling insecure, which is good. It's good to fix things. But being resilient after an argument actually helps tame some of the abandonment issues that both fearful and anxious preoccupied struggle with, right? Dismissive avoidants do not tend to have that type of abandonment wounds as the same as they do. And so resilience and after an argument helps the avoidant individual to feel like this relationship is secure. Because what tends to happen, this is more common with fearful avoidant, but also anxious preoccupied, is after an argument, the individual keeps picking at it, or they want to somehow gain some sort of emotional control. So they might break up with their partner. They may create a dragged out argument. And the highlighting of the argument creates such a discomfort with the avoidant, that's when they start to shut down. And so, like I had mentioned, avoidant individuals, typically male avoidants, but also female avoidants, tend to fall in love and open up to how they feel about that person, not just momentarily, but overall. The feeling they feel, the safety, the comfort, the lack of triggers, and being resilient after arguments typically helps them feel safe and grounded. Whereas if you're picking on it, if you're dragging it, if you're wanting to talk about it continuously, the avoidant individual is not feeling safe anymore. So resilience after an argument, a good example or a way I would kind of track it or explain it would be, after an argument, can you still feel like everything's okay? Or you can put those issues on the shelf momentarily and just enjoy what you and your partner have right now, right? If it's not a pressing issue, sometimes it's good to step away from an argument. Sometimes feel like this relationship is still okay, even if you don't fix those things. Anxious individuals and also fearful, they tend to feel like if there's issues that are not fixed, the relationship has an issue. That is not true. Actually, most of the time, you'll always have issues here and there. You can't fix everything, right? And so it's important to be resilient after these issues arise so that you can continue and remember what the relationship actually is, which is a place that's secure and safe for both of you, hopefully, right? The next one is respectful. A person who is respectful, who shows respect. Avoidants adore this so much. This is one of the most important ones. Like, this should be bold, underlined, put a star next to it. Respectful. Respect can be anything. Let's say you sent a text message after they're busy, and then they mention, hey, I'm really busy. I'll answer you, when I get, we'll talk more about this when I'm done with work. Oh, I'm sorry. I think you had mentioned yesterday that today would be a busy day. I should have known. I apologize and thank you. Just respect, right? Let's say the avoidant individual says, hey, I don't want, I'm not hungry right now. We can still go get ice cream. I'll buy you some ice cream, but I don't want to eat. If you say something like, no, go ahead. Please, I want you to eat. It makes me feel better if you eat. It makes them feel like you crossed a boundary. Even though you might not realize that's what happened, they feel like you just disrespected the boundary they put down. I know avoidants are a little sensitive, and I'm honest about that, right? But it's also important to realize that's how you navigate some of these relationships. One person's more sensitive in one area, the other one is more sensitive in another area. Just how relationships work. And that's good, right? You don't want someone exactly like you typically, right? So respectful. The next one is appreciative. Thank you very much that, you remembered my birthday. I appreciate that. Thank you for making time for me even after you had such a long day. I'm so glad that you still were able to see me. It means a lot, right? Thank you for always answering my text messages. Thank you for being present when we're having arguments. I know they're not your favorite, but it makes me feel more secure that we talk things out. So I appreciate that. Something simple makes them feel like they're doing enough for you, that you're not going to look over all the effort that they're putting, that you recognize this is something that really matters, right? The next one, humility, being humble, right? Not bragging, not being boisterous about what you have, not comparing yourself and thinking you're better than others. Also, in terms of humility, also, that's what I would say is not being entitled, not thinking, I deserve this, right? I deserve this in a relationship. I deserve a man or a woman who does this. I deserve a woman who can, I don't know, make 6 figures, cook and clean, and, still be able to have a conversation with me after work, right? I deserve a man who's, holds himself accountable, remembers my birthday, buys me presents, takes care of me and my son and my mom, like whatever it is. And I'm not saying these are bad things. You have to understand, I'm not saying those are bad things. You can have all those things, and I want you to have that. I want you to. But it's different by saying, I want this. I appreciate this. This is amazing. Like, I do feel like I deserve this. Like, I want to feel safe. But it's not in a way where you think you deserve that without, like, you deserve that above other people, right? Or I deserve that because I'm a X, Y, and Z. That would be great if that was true. Like, I want y'all to have that, but that's just not how it is, right? Sometimes there are circumstances you cannot control. And I do understand if that was triggering, but I want to help you guys. And sometimes that can create a lot of issues by not having that humility. And I think a lot of people don't realize what that means, because unfortunately, and this is, from a psychological perspective, humility is a very healthy trait. But unfortunately, nowadays with social media, and I'm young as well, so I see these things, people almost, this is a bit of a tangent, so I'm sorry, but people almost reinforce that having very high expectations is part of self-worth, but from a psychological perspective, it's not. Like, that's not what self-esteem and self-worth is. It might be from another perspective. I can't speak to that, but from a psychological perspective, being humble is a sign that you're comfortable in your own skin. You don't have to fight for your worth because you automatically know when the line has been crossed, right? So please don't take what I'm saying out of context. I'm not saying that you can't have that. I'm just saying be careful of how you should always, it's wonderful to have those things, but it's also important to recognize what you have now and be appreciative of even the little things, right? So that's what I mean by being humble. The next one. Someone who understands that change takes time, right? So anyone who's in a relationship, do you want your partner to change in a good way? Yeah, right? If you're in a relationship and you're uncomfortable with, your girlfriend hanging out with male friends all the time, maybe it's something that, you're worried for her safety. Maybe that's something you want to change. Maybe not, but maybe you do. Maybe you wish that your partner wouldn't snore. Maybe you wish that, I don't know, your partner would stop nagging you. You want little things to change. Everybody does a little bit, typically. Maybe I shouldn't have said everybody. Most people do. But understand that, first of all, not everything can change, but especially if it's something serious, change takes time. You got to be patient with yourself. You got to be patient with your partner. That's very important, right? I think it's hard because a lot of people who are especially anxious, you're worried about, anxious. You're worried about, when is this going to happen? Is this going to cause issues in our relationship? Am I going to be hurt? Am I going to be abandoned? Those are the thoughts. But just understanding that things take time can really help you, because I want you guys to be happy. I want you to have the relationships you deserve. And I don't say these things to hurt your feelings. I say these things because somebody, maybe they're going to get mad, but another person is going to also appreciate that this was told to them without, me beating around the bush. Like, maybe they need it. because it literally may save a couple relationships out there, even a couple, and I'm okay with that. I like to save relationships. I want you guys happy, right? The next one is someone who is authentic to who they are instead of someone they try to be. Just trying to blend in, right? Let's say an individual is a little bit maybe not as social and they want to pretend that they're social or they're this or that, or maybe they're buying certain clothes to fit in. Avoidant individuals particularly take that as a sign that you care about what other people think more than yourself, and it makes them feel like you're not trustworthy, because it sounds like you don't trust yourself. And I'm going to be pretty harsh about that. I didn't mean to be, but it kind of came across that way, and I'm sorry for that. But if you are caring about another person's opinion, it shows that you do not value your own opinion. And an avoidant individual takes that as a red flag, because it means that your opinion can change depending on the environment. And they're afraid to be judged. They don't want you to judge them. If you were authentic, you would like them for their authentic self. Then they can be their authentic self. And so they can feel loved. Does that make sense? The next one is the ability to adjust expectations without sacrificing everything. I'm not saying sacrifice everything, but just adjust expectations momentarily. Maybe you want to get married in a year, but maybe the avoidant individual is like, you know what, let's wait a little bit. Maybe when I, move a little closer, or maybe when I get a job that pays a little better, then we can get married, right? Adjusting that expectation. Okay, my partner's still here. We've been together for X amount of years. We've been making progress. Maybe it's okay if I just move my timeline just a little, right? Just a little, okay? The next one is balance time apart and time together. So interdependence, right? You guys spend time together and you also spend time apart. Avoidant individuals appreciate the time apart, but believe it or not, they also appreciate the time together, because it allows them to feel like you are a safe and consistent space. I had mentioned before in previous videos quite a bit that consistency actually creates safety with an avoidant, not over, an over amount of text messages throughout. That's not what I mean by consistency, even though, if that's your thing, that's fine. But an avoidant individual likes knowing that this person is there. Avoidant individuals tend to be very particular about things. So a lot of them are timely, not all of them, but they like to show up on work on time. They like to do this on time. They like to do that on time. And so subconsciously, they're expecting you to be that way as well. And so if you're able to balance your time together and apart, it makes them feel like you're trustworthy and you're also like them. And that makes them feel really good, okay? The next one is hold them accountable. Now, I will say this takes a little bit of rapport. So I see this more commonly with couples who have been together for a while. But I have actually had avoidant individuals tell me as their therapist in front of their partner, and it's something that their partner has reported they have said before, is, hold me accountable. Give me time, but if I don't do something, hold me accountable, but I just want you to trust me. I said I'm going to text you, when I get to the hotel. Let's say they're on a business trip. And if I don't text you after a couple hours, remind me, but give me time. Trust me, but hold me accountable, because how else will I know that's what you want, and how else am I going to grow? I have heard avoidants say that. Does it take a while, and is it part of their healing journey? Yes. But if you do care about them, you would hold them accountable. Not in a way to pressure them. I hope that makes sense. It's a balance, okay? The next one is ability to apologize, right? Avoidant individuals love this trait. If you can apologize and you are humble about it and you appreciate them, yeah, they're going to love you and probably going to stay. I can't guarantee it, but a lot of avoidants really like when their partner apologizes. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. You know what? That was me crossing a line. I'm really sorry. Something simple. Doesn't mean begging apologize. Doesn't mean apologizing for something you didn't do. But, maybe you blew up their phone. Sorry, that's a term that means multiple texts. I didn't mean actually physically doing it. Multiple texts, and you're like, you know what? I promise I wouldn't send multiple text messages. So, that's on me. I apologize. I'll let you get back to whatever you got to do. I appreciate you responding. Sorry, I did that. Something really simple. Ability to apologize, right? The next one is willingness to work and save the relationship instead of giving up because you didn't get your way. I know it's a mouthful. I'll explain. A lot of avoidant individuals have reported to me that their partners, I want to explain this right. When an avoidant individual does something, sometimes they don't mean to do it. So let's give an example that maybe an avoidant individual said, and he was trying to comfort her, partner is female, let's just say.
Avoidance said, no, I wouldn't cheat on you. Being in one relationship is already exhausting. Why do you think I would want to? I know it doesn't sound so great because he just basically called her exhausting. Not really, but like indirectly, right? And she heard that. She didn't hear him saying, I'm not cheating on you. I'm never going to cheat on you. So maybe they got into some sort of fight. And she's unwilling to work on the relationship or the fight. Instead, she's mad that he said that, and she's like, and she still doesn't believe him that he's not cheating, right? And so she's mad. She's like, you know what? I can't do this. You have to change. And she gives some sort of ultimatum because she just didn't get the reassurance that she wanted her way. Now, I'm not saying this is conscious on her mind, but a lot of anxious, preoccupied, or even fearful avoidance leaning anxious, they do this because they somewhere feel like he has something to hide. Why would he say that to me? I don't want that, right? And an avoidant individual would rather someone work on the issue. Okay, you're right. I shouldn't have said that. I appreciate you sharing that. But the reason why sometimes I think you have somebody else is because you don't talk to me as much as I expect. What can we do to navigate this so I'm not feeling this way and you're not feeling backed up in a corner? Willingness to work it out. And the very last one, which is very important, is non-judgmental. You don't judge them for vegging out on the sofa after work. You don't judge them for being a little bit detached from the world. You don't judge them for not wanting to sacrifice their poker night with their buddies just to hang out with you. You understand they need that. You respect them. It doesn't mean that you're going to do everything their way. That's not what I'm saying. But you don't judge who they are. Just because you want things adjusted, which most individuals do in relationships, doesn't mean that you judge them. You think less of them. Their, avoidance are just damage. They're X, Y, and Z. That's judgmental. Right? You're seeing them as someone for who they are, and you're willing to try and work things out the best way that both you can. Okay. I appreciate you watching. Please subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next one.